FromRome.Info video. My name is Brother Alexis Spagnoli. I'm the publisher and editor of FromRome.Info, an electronic journal for news commentary about Rome, Italy, the Catholic Church, and the Vatican. Transmitting tonight, January 1st, 2023, live from the Piazza of Santa Maria Maggiore in Rome, Italy, where they have the beautiful Christmas tree set up. Because here in the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, the oldest church dedicated to Our Lady in the whole world, is kept the relic of the crib of Jesus, the wood that St. Joseph used to make it, in a huge crystal reliquary. And the faithful have been coming all this week, and especially today, on pilgrimage to visit the crib of Jesus and make a prayer to the Holy Family or to the child Jesus. So, as you might have known, if you've seen already my news reports, I am a Franciscan brother. I'm an Italian and American citizen, and I'm conducting one of the unique news services covering the death of Pope Benedict the 16th and the events that follow. And I encourage you to share this report and invite your friends to watch. Subscribe to the channel. I rarely say things like that, but I notice that my reports are getting 1,000 or more people watching because no one is come to Rome to cover the death of Pope Benedict. And I'll let the bells of the tower sound before I continue. Mauro, ho fatto un servizio un'ora con Andrea Cianci in italiano questa notte, quindi adesso questo servizio è in inglese. This report will be in the English language. I've already done an hour-long interview with Cianci today in Italian at FromRome.Info, and so if you want it in Italian, it's there. Se volete la pubblicazione in italiano, va a FromRome.Info, dove si trova i servizi che ho fatto oggi in italiano. So, Pope Benedict, one of the greatest popes in all of the history of the church, passed to the Lord, to appear before the Lord, was called to appear before the throne of Christ yesterday at 9:24 in the morning. So we are now in the second day of Sede Vacante, because when the Roman Pontiff is dead, he's the Apostolic See is vacant until there is elected another man to receive the Petrine moodness, which Benedict never resigned. So there's a big misunderstanding in the Catholic world because there's a person called Pope Francis who's been running the Vatican for nearly 10 years. And people have been told he is the Roman Pontiff. He is not. You can't be two popes at the same time. And until one renounces the dignity, the office, the charge, the burden, the responsibility, the munus, and the ministry, he's still Pope. If he only renounces part of it, he's still Pope. And until you're totally dead, or that you renounce totally, you're still the Pope. So Bergoglio was never the Pope, has never been the Pope, and we shouldn't really call him Pope Francis, but we've all been victimized by a dictatorship of raw will. One of the things that characterizes the great evil of modern times is that there's arisen ideologic political movements that want to deny reality and insist it's other than it is. For these movements like Nazism or communism or Marxism, Stalinism or Maoism, or Pol Potism, Fidel Castroism, or if you want to call it, or Chavezism, or Peronism. What things are is not what they are. They are what I say they are. And this is the epitome of Satanism. How did Satan cause our race to fall at the beginning of time? He insisted things in the Garden of Eden were as he said they were, not as God said they were. And as Christians, we are obliged to open our eyes and only listen to those voices that speak truly about reality. And Benedict warned us about this dictatorship of relativism, the dictatorship of international finance, the dictatorship of mass media, the dictatorship of ideologies. And he warred against it alone because the level of clerical corruption in the Catholic Church now is worse than it has ever been in the history of the Church, so much that the very existence of the Catholic faith is up in the air. And Benedict had no way to fight that by himself except by retiring into and separating himself from the clergy and letting them show themselves for what they are. And anyone can see that Benedict renounced the ministry and not the munus, and anyone can see that in canon law you must renounce the munus and not the ministry. And anyone can see that the Pope by Canon 333 has the right to retire, and they won't say that. And it was extremely shameful today. There was published a report where Cardinal Burke says Bergoglio is the Pope. Cardinal Burke has a doctorate in canon law, and he is an absolute, vicious, dishonest liar. And we all need to say that, because only he is Pope who holds the Petrine Munus. It says in the Papal Law of 1996 on Universi Dominici Gregis, written by Pope John Paul II, and with the assistance and aid of Cardinal Ratzinger, that the cardinals must take a vow at the opening of the conclave to recognize that the one elected receives the Petrine Munus. So they all know that Penn never resigned it and still was the Pope. Matter of fact, several events have taken place this week that show that they all know it. As soon as Benedict was dead, the press office of the Vatican said, the funeral will be on the 6th, on the Feast of Epiphany, which was bizarre. You don't bury people on Epiphany. There was an outcry, and it was moved to the 5th. And that seems like a small detail, but according to the papal law, on the burial of Roman pontiffs, the Pope must be buried on the 4th, 5th, or 6th day after his death. And since he died on the last day of the year, that would be the 3rd, 4th, or 5th of January. And you've seen him lying in state. If you go to FromRome.Info, you can see pictures of him lying in state. Tomorrow, he will be lying in state, and the public can visit. And I will be there in the morning to cover the vast crowds that will come to see the Holy Father. But they did a really botched job. I mean, you get better embalming from a small American mortician, undertaker, than what they gave to the Roman pontiff. It was a real insult. This is how nasty these people are. They're just absolutely nasty. And to be nasty and a cleric is the worst sin, because the religion of Jesus Christ is a religion of love, of gentleness, of kindness, and of goodness. And if you're the opposite of all those things and you're a priest, you're not serving Jesus Christ. And but they dressed him as Roman pontiff in the vestments of the Pope. So they did that much. De Donati, Bergoglio's vicar for Rome, has announced that the priests can and should say masses in suffrage for the death of a Roman pontiff. So here in the Diocese of Rome, and now throughout all Christendom, priests will be saying mass not for a retired bishop of Rome, but for the Roman pontiff. And lex credendi, lex orandi, lex credendi. So if you go to the Latin Mass, you ask your pastor, why is it that the Mass is being offered for the death of a Roman pontiff if he wasn't the Roman pontiff at death? So you've been fooled, you've been lied, you've been misled, and you've been cheated. You've been cheated of knowing who the true Pope is. You have been cheated of the Mass said in union with the Pope. You have been robbed of your opportunity to receive the sacrament in communion with Jesus Christ. This is the level and epitome of wickedness. I'm not just talking about closing the churches. I'm talking what's going on for 10 years. Benedict never abdicated. And yet voices today in social media in the English-speaking world are using the word abdicated. Well, you know, even here in Italy, they're giving long explanations why Benedict's resignation was valid. Well, you know, if the paintings disappeared from the museum and 10 years later you're still saying there was no robbery, the only possible conclusion is you know the thieves, or you're one of them. And this is what's going on in the church right now. And the people who are viciously attacking Benedict show what they are. They are pretend holiness, like a right-handed glove, but they're really sinister figures, and there's a left hand in that right glove. But you know, when you put a left hand in a right-handed glove, it shows, it doesn't fit. And so we can all see that you're fakes. The spiritual testament of Pope Benedict was released today, and Archbishop Grandstein gave an interview in English. So you come to FromRome.Info, you can watch the full interview of Archbishop Grandstein on the death of Pope Benedict, and judge for yourself whether he was a friend of Benedict or whether he was involved in this plot to steal the church. You know, the church can't run on falsehood and dishonesty. Andrea Cianci pointed this out in his Italian language interview with me earlier this evening. The church can't be credible unless she preaches the truth. She can't preach an ideology of what is claimed. She has to call things by their name. She has to observe her own rules. And if you are sidelining the Pope and claiming he abdicated when he didn't, and denying all the laws of the church that show it, and if after 10 years all you have is you keep making your claim, but you can give no reason or canonical argument for it, you're thieves, you're criminals, you're ecclesiastic mafia, you're not men of God. You are not servants of the Most High. You are crooks. Mean, petty crooks. And to maltreat the Roman Pontiff by one of the worst embalmings I've ever seen, and to play games with his funeral, and shows the absolute epitome of your corruption. Priests should not treat the dead that way. If they're treating the Pope that way in death, how are they going to treat the laity at their death in the parishes? So the whole Catholic world needs to rise up. We can't endure this. We will not survive as a church if we have a criminal class of clergy that protects one another so they can rape children and girls and boys, and even men and women, and play all these kinds of narrative tricks, gaslighting, and promote people who collaborate with them in these crimes. That cannot be tolerated, and we should not tolerate it. And if we don't rebel and clean the church of these scum, we're not going to be faithful to Christ. This church belongs to those who believe in Jesus Christ. It doesn't belong to crooks, Freemasons, Satanists, sodomites, psychopaths, and sexual predators, thieves, and liars. Doesn't belong to those people. Get out of the church, you know. Join some fake religion where they do that, but don't sully the house of God. And it's just unbearable how they treated Pope Benedict, that they would lie to us so much that it took years for some of us to unpack all the lies and get unentangled from them. I remember in 2018 when I found out Benedict was still the Pope, I couldn't believe the depth of mendacity that these people have undertaken, and they're hardened in it. They're dedicated to it. They don't give up on it. They keep pushing it. It is terrible. Now, Sweetheart Harmony, you can find the interview for Archbishop Grandstein at FromRome.Info, my electronic journal, where I published it just a few hours ago. And you can click on the video there and watch it either through the page of the website or go to YouTube and watch it directly. And listen to it very carefully. If I have time tomorrow, I will publish my critique of it. And you're welcome, Sweetheart. And if any of you have questions, you can ask me. So, you tell your priests to celebrate the Mass in suffrage for Pope Benedict and in suffrage for the death of a Roman pontiff. There's a special liturgical instruction for that. How he mentions at the canon mass the death of the Roman pontiff. And during that, one does not mention the name of any other pope. And if, even at Rome, the cardinal vicar named by Bergoglio is telling the priest to do that, the game is up, folks. Stop playing your game. You know, you can't change reality. Pope Benedict said that in the end, God wins. And if you're on the side of God, then before the end, you even win. And Benedict has won this battle because he held with the truth and he never played games with it. And what he has done will stand as a monument to convict this dishonest generation of clergy who have done everything they can to destroy the church like a pack of wolves. If a pack of wolves is attacking the little sheep, some of us have to become shepherd dogs and attack back. We have to defend the little ones. We have to defend those whom these people are trying to victimize. There are those who want to defend the art and the wealth of the basilicas, but the true treasures of the church are believers. And we need to defend that. So, Sweet Harmony, the Basilica of St. Peter has a dome, and it's covered in copper. So when it is brand new, it is shiny like gold. And as it ages, it turns green. And if it ages a bit more, it turns black because different layers of mold grow on top of it. Okay. So there's urban myths going around that it's not Benedict, that it is Benedict. I don't know if you've recently seen an elderly person dead and then embalmed. My mother died in 2018, so I'm very familiar with it. They look worse in death after they're embalmed, usually. But so it is Benedict, and but they gave him a very bad job. And there's these people claiming that Bergoglio is going to resign. Bergoglio is not going to resign because he can't tolerate having a superior. He can kiss the hands of wealthy people to get gifts, but he doesn't want a superior because he doesn't want anyone telling him what to do or faulting him. No, I think he will last until the end. And I don't see that the cardinals who rebel against him, they don't seem to even have the honesty to say black is white and white is black. I mean, they say that black is black and white is white. They say black is white and white is black. But we have to stop paying attention and respecting people who are dishonest in the church. And a lot of priests have sacrificed for themselves for the truth and have been canceled. We lay people, I am not a priest, I'm just a layman, we have to now also risk ourselves for the truth. The church is involved in a spiritual battle, and we have to take the side with the truth. Now, on the question of a conclave, I will discuss that after the funeral of Pope Benedict. It is not seemly to discuss these things before the funeral of a Roman pontiff. But I will explain why this grace of God can touch any man, and that what does it mean for cardinals to be in schism from the Roman pontiff and lose their office. So there are two ways to elect a Roman pontiff. One is by the cardinals in conclave, and if they don't exercise the right, then the Church of Rome has the right to elect the Roman pontiff in a general assembly of the faithful. So I sense, though, that with these little victories about moving the date of Pope Benedict's funeral, vesting him as Pope, and having masses said for him as Roman pontiff, that the winds seem to have changed in Rome. We now have solid liturgical facts that run counter to the narrative. And the globalists are getting absolutely terrified. Journalists around the world keep emphasizing the narrative because they're afraid it's ready to fall apart. As soon as someone starts asking questions and saying, no, 1 + 1 doesn't make 3, it's 2. And this is what we must come out. We must come out and say the truth. And if any priest says Bergoglio is the Pope, say, how can he be Pope? How can two people hold the Petrine Munus at the same time, Father? And if someone sustains the opinion that now Benedict's dead, therefore Bergoglio holds the Petrine Munus, it doesn't work that way. If you're elected president before the current president resigns, your election doesn't count. And if you bump him off, or if he dies, you can't say, well, I was elected president 4 years ago. It doesn't work that way. Not in any legal system, it doesn't work that way. Archbishop George Ganswein, I don't know personally where he is. He did an interview. I assume he's back in Rome now. He actually resides in the Vatican. He's head of the papal household. I'm not dressed as a Jesuit, Sylvia. I'm a Franciscan brother. And not all Franciscans are priests. Okay, so Daniel Vara. Now that Pope Benedict is dead, no priest is saying Mass in communion with Pope Benedict. They're saying Mass for the repose of the soul of Pope Benedict. And so that controversy has changed. It's ended. No priest will be saying in communion with Pope Benedict anymore. But you'll know the priests who are Catholic because they're going to say for the repose of the soul of Pope Benedict. They won't be saying in communion with Pope Francis because, well, he's never been the Pope. The mood in Rome is shock at the way Pope Benedict's being treated in death. People are beginning to question things in a way they have not done. There's a lot of anticipation what will happen to the church if Bergoglio stays in place. Proclivity, you can always watch my videos later. The little one needs you more right now. And you need, and if proclivity, if you're the mother, you need to rest, okay? So get your rest and ask people to help you with the little one. And find someone to help you nurse him. So, and may the truth come to light. So, be militant now. If you hear, if you're on any blog or news site and people start saying Benedict abdicated or Bergoglio's the Pope, you got to hit them back. Don't let them stand with that wordplay, you know. We shouldn't endure these professional liars. It's just, it's disgusting. Yeah. So I see there's 62 of you. So tomorrow at 9 o'clock here in Rome, we'll begin the public wake of Pope Benedict XVI. His body will be laid in state at St. Peter's Basilica, and and people are free to come and visit. And it will be lay in state until 7 in the evening, and again also on Tuesday. I don't think you even need a ticket to go. And the crowds I expect will be immense. I will try to get there before 6:30 and show you as sun rises how many people are lining up to come and waiting to be. And maybe I'll interview some people as we go. And I will do services in English and Italian and fill you in on current news and things of that sort. So this is my report for tonight. Benedict is will go down in history as one of the popes who truly loved us and truly loved the people of God, truly wanted to clean the house of God up, truly wanting to protect little ones. And as a pope who was hated from the first day of his pontificate and insulted and stepped upon even in death because he was bucking the whole club of clericalists. And Benedict was not the Panzer Nazi cardinal. He was actually the gentle Christian imitating the Sacred Heart of Jesus. It's the people who pushed them out of power, who are the nasty Nazis, who go around destroying people so they can rob the church of the things of God. My thoughts of Bishop Sanborn is a Sede Vacantist. He received consecration illicitly. That's a no-no in Catholicism, okay? Only with the consent of the Roman Pontiff. So that's my report for now this evening on the 1st of January, and the second day of Sede Vacante, and I reported about how the Testament of Benedict's been published, and there's nothing controversial in it. Benedict has not altered the laws of the Church in any way about the selection of his successor, so now only those who he appointed to be cardinal electors can elect his successor, and if they neglect to do it, then the faithful can. So I'll talk about more of each of these topics as we go on each day, rather than belaboring it. There are no more militant template orders around anymore. After the French Revolution, they were all suppressed. Some of them still exist as charitable organizations, like the military order of the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre takes care of the churches in the Holy Land, and the Knights of Malta do lots of charitable things all around the world, but none of them have troops anymore. Hey, it's not just non-Catholics, sweet Harmony, that are attacking Benedict, it's even Catholics. Yes, exactly. El Camino, the Spiritual Testament, written in 2006, it has nothing to do with recent things. Okay, so I'm going to end my transmission tonight. I have to get back to my hermitage, do a few more things in preparation for tomorrow, and get ready for my report. God bless you, and please watch From Rome, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and if you can help me with my expenses, if you go to FromRome.Info, you'll see a little article right at the top. Send something through, because I have to. My expenses will be higher in the next 21 days. I have to eat at restaurants here in Rome rather than in the hermitage. I'm here in the city all day long. And I also have to fix the car I use. So God bless you and thank you. And please pray for Pope Benedict. Please say a rosary for the repose of his soul. In Christianity, we pray for the dead, that God might have mercy on them. If they have any small debt to forgive, that our prayers might convince the Lord to forgive those debts. God bless you from the Eternal City. This is Brother Alexis Spagnola with FromRome.Info on the passing of Pope Benedict XVI.